After being accidentally left behind on a family vacation for their Christmas holiday, young Kevin McCallister has to fight some burglars that break into his home. Not so Merry Christmas to Kevin, and that's why today in movie recap Home Alone, the film opens with the McCallister family running all over the place as they try to get everything ready for their holiday trip to France the following morning. While the family is losing their marbles over nothing, a police officer attempts to talk to at least one family member before he embarks to the next house. Kevin tries to grab his parents, uncles, brothers and cousins' attention but gets either ignored or berated as he struggles to figure out how to pack a suitcase. Of course, Kevin grows frustrated and throws a bit of a fit, stating that when he grows up and gets married he will be living alone. Why grow up and get married? I'm living alone. He even approaches his brother Bus, who bullies poor Kevin constantly and for some reason tells him the story of an old man, Marley, who is apparently a cold-blooded murderer. After spending quite some time waiting to talk to an adult at the McCallister home, the police officer catches Kevin's dad, Peter, telling him he just wants to make sure they're taking all the precautionary measures on their home given that's Christmas time and there's a lot of burglaries on the holiday. Peter only says that there's not much he can do either way and leaves to open the door for a pizza delivery boy. During dinner time, Buzz is once again teasing and annoying Kevin to the point that he loses it, accidentally dumping all the beverages all around the passports. This is the worst. His family can't stand it anymore, and after unfairly schooling him they send him upstairs without dinner, but not before his mother, Cade, runs into the policeman. She tells him they're heading to France the next day and everything's a little crazier than usual for the time being. He tells her not to worry about a thing, promising her that the house is safe in the department's hands as he leaves the McCallister home. Well, thank you, but no thank you. Once Kate leaves Kevin in his room, the mother and son have a brief and spiteful fight, with the poor kid telling her that he doesn't want to see any of them ever again. I hope I never see any jerks again. As you may have expected given the title of the movie, this is a classic case of careful what you wish for, but to be honest, if we were Kevin we probably wouldn't want to see any of them either. Late night rolls around and the house is quiet as a mouse, and with everyone sleeping they couldn't tell a strong gush of wind had caused brief blackout that deactivated everyone's alarm. The next morning the McCallisters noticed they had slept in and now they are even more crazed up than the day before, running all over the house and trying to get everything together in order to get to the airport on time. Music. A random kid gets mistaken for Kevin while the family lines up on driveway and does a head count. The kid returns to his family as he waves goodbye to the McCallisters. Once they get to the airport, the family runs around in a rather comical manner and manages to port the plane on time. What a relief, but that relief, as you can already know, doesn't last much longer. Kevin is nowhere to be found and the plane has already taken off. I gotta get out of here. Kevin wakes up much later than the rest of the family to an empty house as he confusedly walks around trying to find someone, anyone. Hello mom, dad. Obviously he finds nothing. He thinks his wish made his family disappear and isn't too bothered about it. I made my family disappear. He runs and plays with everything he can find around the house as he screams in Purex to see how he is finally free. Oh, and he gets to eat all sorts of junk, from marshmallows and chocolate syrup to humongous scoops of ice cream while he watches R-rated movies. Kate, who has finally realized she forgot her son back at home, is visibly panicking on the plane, feeling responsible for leaving Kevin home alone, which makes sense. One of the uncles attempts to console her by telling her, it makes you feel any better, I forgot my reading classes. Wow, great comparison, mister. On the other hand, everything was going great for Kevin until late night hours roll around. You see, the policeman that visited the family yesterday wasn't really a policeman but a thief, and was collecting information to see which families were leaving and which were staying so he and his partner could break in. Thinking no one was home, the burglars break Into the McCallister home. Kevin acts fast and turns on every single light around the house before hiding under the bed, letting the robbers know that the house wasn't alone at all. I'm smart, they assume. They haven't left the home yet and postponed the robbery for the time being but plan to return later in the night. I'm gonna kill myself. Kevin feels that hiding is a little boy's thing and gets to the street yelling at whoever is out there that he is no longer scared. Hey, I'm not afraid anymore, until he runs into the old man Marley screaming as he sees the supposed cold-blooded killer and hurrying back inside. Well, at least he was brave enough to confront the thieves. Right, on another hand, the McCallisters are once again running all over the airport as they try to find a phone to call the police. Taking the phone away from an innocent lady, she manages to get a hold of the department, but they don't really feel like doing a proper job. You're terrible, you're all terrible, that's just lovely, isn't it? Hopeless. Kate books a flight for the entire family only to find that the nearest one possible is 2 days away. She decides to stay at the airport while the rest of the family enjoys what they can from their trip that has been cut short, and yes, even the dad left too. You're terrible, you're all terrible. Kevin, who now thinks is the man of the house, takes a shower and explains how he actually uses soap this time and even an adult formulated shampoo. While cleaning himself, he takes his father's lotion and applies some of it to his face, which of course leads to this memorable scene. Other than that, I'm in good shape, all good and all, but unfortunately he can't find his toothbrush. Naturally, as any other independent 8-year-old would do, he goes out to buy one, but not before accidentally destroying a little bit of the house. He's getting ready to pay for the brand new toothbrush. He once again runs into the old man Marley, once again running away from the man and leaving the store without paying due to sheer terror. Just before Kevin makes it home safe, he runs into the burglars and noticed it was the policeman from before, one he didn't particularly like. Kevin walks away from them, but the thieves follow him, making him go into hiding in a nearby church. There he promises himself that he will be ready once the petty robbers return. During nighttime, the burglars plan to make their return to the McCallisters' home, but it appears as though it's a full house. You may think the family has returned from Paris, but no, Kevin has made it look as if the house is packed and is having a blast. While doing so, he even got some pizza. Even though he was having his fair amount of fun, he was starting to miss his family, promising that if they come back he will never be a pain in the butt again. If you come back, I'll never be a pain in the butt again, I promise. Ah, how sweet. The next morning, Kevin realizes that being the man of the house implies having certain responsibilities he doesn't entirely love. That goes from grocery shopping, washing his blades, and even his clothes. Pretty responsible for an 80-year-old if you ask me. The burglars return again and are confused when it appears that the house is empty again. Bad guy number 1 sends bad guy number 2 to go investigate, but as promised, Kevin is ready and plays an old VHS that scares the robber away. Bad guy number 2 hurries to tell bad guy number 1 that someone beat him to the job and there are other thieves inside the house. Back in France, Kate is desperately attempting to switch flight with any family that could possibly accept it, offering 500 her earrings and whatever they may want in order to get on a plane as soon as possible. An elderly couple agrees to switch their flights with Kate so she can finally board the plane and get to her son. However, the flight is for Dallas and not Chicago, where Kevin is. Once there, she is once again struggling to find a flight that isn't fully booked for Chicago, claiming that she is even willing to sell her soul to the devil himself as long as she gets to her son. Mother power, I tell you. Luckily for her, a man who is in a not very successful polka band is willing to give her a ride to wherever she wants to go, as long as she doesn't mind riding with some polka bombs. Of course, much to Kevin's misfortune, the thieves haven't left yet and are still closely watching the house as if to spot any irregularities. While Kevin is trimming some trees, for some reason the bad guys finally realize they have been tricked by some kid and decide to attack at night while it's dark, because Of course all kids are scared of the dark. Little do they know Kevin is actually the man of the house. Later Kevin visits fake Santa Claus that Kevin knows is not the real Santa but knows that he works for him. At least I'm old enough to know how it works all right, but I also know that you worked for him. Well, that much is as clear as daylight. How sweet. Kevin asks fake Santa to bring his family back. Instead of presents, fake Santa promises to tell real Santa about his request. Seeing that he is probably alone and wandering the streets, fake Santa decides to treat Kevin with a little something for Tic Tacs. I'm sure that will definitely cure anyone's hunger. After his weird Santa visit, Kevin goes to a church and runs into old man Marley, but this time he is no longer afraid. As it turns out, old Marley is actually a pretty sweet guy, lives just right across the street from the McCallisters family. He listens to Kevin rant about his family, his lonely time, and gives the kids some advice while he in turn rants about his own problems while Kevin advises him instead. It's actually a pretty sweet moment, not going to lie. Are you crying? Am I crying? No, I'm not crying. You're crying. Kevin returns home and is once again preparing for the robbers' attacks. He sets all the traps you can think of and more, refusing to have anyone disturb his family home. Some could even say they're not just go-away traps, but rather this will literally kill you traps, from throwing irons at them, having them fall down the stairs, and burning their hands and heads. You know what, better see it for yourself. Music. Yeah, I guess you could say he kind of tortures the burglars once they get there. Music. What good for him, though. While Kevin gains quite a lot of leverage on the bad guys, he decides it's about time to call the police and have them locked up for good. Kevin places a zip line that leads directly to his treehouse, and the bad guys intend to follow after, but of course Kevin is prepared and cuts the rope. When they are trying to cross after they finally get their act together, they for once were able to outsmart Kevin, but it doesn't work out too well for them, as Marley, the not-so-spooky old man, noticed the commotion outside and decided to help out Kevin, hitting the two men with a shower. Go Marley. Not long after, the police arrive and apprehend the two bad guys that have been given poor Kevin a hard time, more like the other way around, but they had it coming. Kevin wakes up the next morning and still finds an empty house. I guess Santa didn't come through this year, huh? Or that's what you think. As if on cue, Kate enters the home and finds it squeaky clean and filled with decorations. Kevin rushes downstairs as his mom apologizes profusely to the poor kid, hugging him as he does so. Seconds later, the rest of the family shows up and give Kevin the proper appreciation he always deserved. That's right, even Bus can you say best Christmas movie. And that's all for today. Make sure to stay tuned as we'll be doing Home Alone 2 very soon.